Hello everybody. I want to talk with you about a new consumer website, healthcare.gov. It's a good resource for understanding the new law, and it offers a few simple tools to help you take your healthcare into your own hands. For the first time ever, you can see all your insurance options, public and private, in one place.
The launch of healthcare.gov was a public relations disaster for the Obama administration. This was a high-profile example of a failed outsourced IT project. The design of the website was overseen by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services and was built by a number of contractors. We'll be addressing the following topics for a more detailed review about what led to its failure. Issues with the website, stakeholders and senior leaders, actions that could have been taken, references from the book, and we will conclude from what we learned from this case. Next, Sandy will review issues with the website.
Hello everyone, I am Sandhya and part of the team 2 that worked on Healthcare Exchange website team project. I would like to discuss the issues identified with this magnum opus project. As my colleague said, it was supposed to launch on October 1st, 2013, and yes, it is launched, but lot of and different kind of issues were surrounded with this website. Let's go into more details about the issues identified. Per CMS requirements, this website would withstand 50,000 to 60,000 concurrent users. And the same thing hoped by website creators too. However, in real time, the website was down with just 1100 concurrent users. So it is failed to fulfill that requirement. Surprisingly, on the first day, the site saw a lot of simultaneous users and it is failed to withstand. That led to many problems. This is the major issue when we talk about the performance of the website. Apart from this, the website was very slow, got stuck during the shopping on various screens. And the next thing is, with this slow performed website, some of the users could enroll into listed healthcare plans. However, they found that they were missing some information. The reason for this is, according to sources, the website is built with one of the complex pieces of software and that was never used for US federal government projects. The website was intended to communicate with approximately above 100 different systems to validate the user's demographic data, financial information with one click while they are shopping. So the system could not have performed this task well, that results this missing information. As we know, sometimes we need to fill up many pages when we do any kind of registration process. The same thing with healthcare enrollment too. User had to fill up the forms while shopping their health plan. This is acceptable, but the problem is the user had to enter duplicate information on various screens, so obviously that resulted in frustration for users. And shopping the health plan became nightmare to users. And the next thing is, users were having a very bad experience with customer care of this website. According to sources, one woman reported that she had to listen the same word, please be patient, 40 times over the customer care line. Again, this resulted in frustration for users. Moving on to the next one. Before healthcare.gov went online, there was concern about that misleading or fake website at the state level or local level. It was subsequently reported that over 700 fake or misleading websites have been set up. At that time, user had a very hard time to find out which one is illegal. Apart from this, there were concerns that personal information put into the website may not be secure in the way that users expected. Normally, with any website, some of the functions are code being executed in the user's web browser. But in the case of this website, in July 2014, a hacker broke into a test server for healthcare.gov and uploaded malicious software. After the attack, most of the healthcare.gov's code was rewritten and important functions moved to server side rather than being executed at client side in the user's web browser. Repeated errors, slow performance had prevented many users from even creating the account. With all these issues, Obama administration was under pressure during the first few weeks of the open enrollment. Apart from all these issues, another major issue was uncredited use of a copyrighted web script for a data function used by this website, which is a violation of the license agreement for that software. The piece of code was taken from the Spray Media. According to journal posted on the weekly standards, it is reported that Spray Media was extremely disappointed with this act. Moving on to the next one, software code for systems supporting healthcare.gov contained numerous errors, resulting in difficulties in accessing and using the site. For example, in September 2013, which is less than 1 month before launch, CMS identified 45 critical and 324 serious code errors across the plan management, financial management, and eligibility and enrollment system modules, with services relating to the eligibility and enrollment module having the highest number of errors. Further, assessment team reported that there was no evidence that software coding errors were being addressed. Moving on to the next one. As of initial launch, the functionality provided by the system was limited compared to what was planned, thus hindering users from performing actions needed to compare health plans and small businesses from purchasing plans, as well as requiring the use of manual process for payment issues. Okay, these are the issues we identified in our research. Now I will hand over this presentation to my classmate Alvin. He's gonna talk about what stakeholder perspectives and what was the involvement of senior leaders in this project.
Thank you, Sandia. I will now attempt to give you an overview as to what the major stakeholders did to resolve healthcare.gov's issues. October 17, Corney was desperately stalling for time because the government shutdown had ended and all eyes were on the failing website. October 18, Sibelius tells the Wall Street Journal site is running. But we all knew that was not so because there were numerous crashing, people could not get on the website, so it was not working as it should for consumers. The president, however, in the Rose Garden defended the healthcare.gov website, saying that it's not working as it should for consumers, but behind the scenes they are doing what they can to resolve said issues. At the bottom of the slide, which the red arrow depicts, it shows what was going on at the White House behind the scenes. There were a number of meetings. They were trying to find out what was going on, what happened, where, and the president needed to know if he should just scrap the website and start all over again. Group of super programmers that were organized by Zanes and Park, who was the CTO of the White House, created a dashboard. They installed it on the website. This dashboard allowed them to do real-time monitoring of the website and start resolving the issues. October 22nd, the site load time drops from 8 seconds to 2 seconds, which was drastic. And it was great for the site. It showed improvement. So on the 23rd of October, the president decided not to scrap the website. This part 2 of the slide shows where Zanes, an advisor to Obama, had told him that the healthcare.gov website is fixable. It also shows on the 27th of October that there was another crash on the website. On the 30th of October, Sybilis applied. On the 30th of October, Sybilis apologized for the botch launch of the website, of which she was a part of the original project management team, which did a horrible job at putting this project together. However, behind the scenes, on December 1st, Zanes reported that there were improvements to the site with the load time, and it started to increase in capacity for registered users. What they saw, pretty much when the programmers came in, what they saw was a site with wild gyration, and it looked awfully spiky. That's how they describe it. But the major question was whether they could ride the bull. Could they fix the website? One person from the group mentioned that it's just a website. We're not going to the moon. Going to the moon was a difficult feat, and it was accomplished. So therefore, fixing a website shouldn't be that bad. That's great motivational speech to get the group together up and running. Here we have the error rates chart. It shows where the error rates change from 6% and it went down to under 1%, which was a dynamic change in the improving of the functions of the website. This diagram shows the response times. It's showing the response time going down from 8 seconds all the way to under 1 second, which is a great response time for such a website. Real-time monitoring. This real-time monitoring enabled the programmers to see what were the problems, and they could do immediate incident response because the site was monitored 24/7, where they had someone always there to start resolving the issues. Mike Dickerson's stand-ups were an active part of the resolution to healthcare.gov's problems, wherein they stand up for meetings, they stand up for brainstorming for the most part. And I find that this works too, because going to the library works much better for me, because at home on the couch I do a whole lot less work. At the library, on a bar stool or standing at a desk, I'm much sharper. I get a whole lot more done. However, thank you guys for listening. Next presenter, Shavonda Darso. Actions that could have been taken.
Thank you, Alvin. Healthcare.gov suffered multiple disasters when it was launched. Actions that could have been taken to avoid those disasters are limited length and mandatory form fields. Designing a seamless registration process for users eliminates the pain of filling out lengthy forms. Implementing a single sign-on method to authenticate users would have decreased the time spent on the registration process by offering a pre-populated field method based off of social media data. Being transparent about how your data was used is another action that could have been taken. Being upfront with users on what information the site will be collecting and how sharing information can enhance a user experience. Also give the user control over what information they would like to share. Doing this will help build trust and make users more likely to use the site. Give users choices. The site should have given multiple ways of verifying users' identity. This could have been done through single sign-on method to a social media or an email account. Users should have also been offered and provided the opportunity of a password recovery field. as any software that is to be released, make sure to test, and test again. Looking at disaster of healthcare.gov when it was launched proves that testing was not accomplished on the site. Using A/B testing would have sent out different forms to separate users, which would have narrowed down yields, form fields, button placements, and layout in the highest conversion. Also using conceptual, logical design to make sure the mode system does what it's supposed to do, and testing the strengths and weakness of it. There is always room for improvement, even when a form looks clear and concise. The design of a system is very important to a website's success. Making login options visible to the users by placing them where users are more likely to notice them, for example, at the top of the home page, would have relieved a lot of stress for the users. When logon buttons are hidden at the bottom of the UI, users are less likely to register. A diverse login experience presents an uneasy feeling, and users are less likely to trust the site to store information. Maintain a constant look and feel throughout the site from log on to log out increases users' trust and acquisition. The registration and log on portal are not separate entities. They are the core element of a user's overall experience. We could relate this to an interaction failure because the system was built in a rush, trying to keep within budget. However, they failed to address the user's overall preference for where the buttons should be. Think through logic loops is another action that could have been taken. An example of a faulty logic loop is when a user attempts to create a new account and is told their email already exists in the system. The user is given no way to recover the username or password. Another example is when a user wishes to update their account with a new email address, yet they must have access to an older email account to change it. Faulty logic loops creates frustrations with users. Proper validation will have caught these errors before going live. Communication is the key. First, you must communicate to all the project teams the scope and objective of the project, and provide and establish control mechanisms to stay on course of the requirements that need to be met. Identify what needs to be done, scheduled, and budget. Ensure you have a detailed list for estimating, scheduling, allocating resources, and the time required to accomplish each task, as well as the resources required by the. Be prepared to scale. Make sure databases can scale according to the data load. Collecting data from social or traditional registrations needs to store and manage unlimited data fields in a secure database that is designed to handle sudden data spikes and varied data points. All the items mentioned are actions that could have been taken to avoid a disaster. Next, we have Mark, who will be talking about the book sources and the conclusion.
Thank you. Next, we'll be covering the references from the book and how they correlate with the report. The references from the book are as listed in order covered by the report. 6 factors to improve IS project success. Chapter 6. Make sure to test, and test again. Chapter 5. Consistency is key. Chapter 5. Think through logic loops. Chapter 5. Communication leads to fewer errors. Chapter 8. Have a detailed task list. Chapter 6. Final design requirements. Chapter 8. Controls should have been in place. Chapter 8. Process failure. Chapter 9. The 6 factors to improve IS projects are as listed. Project scope and objective communicated to all of the project teams. Business rationale for undertaking a project dismantled. Accurate project budget. Project support present. Project control firmly established. Rules did not change during project execution. Under this section, make sure to test, and test again, using the conceptual logical design to make sure the model system does what it's supposed to do, and test the strengths and weaknesses of it. Properly validation is required to make sure the system meets all requirements that are required. Under this section, consistency is key. Maintaining a consistent look and feel throughout the site from login to logout is key. We feel that the failure to deliver this element is related to an interactive failure because the system was built in a rush, trying to keep within budget. However, they failed to deliver on the user overall preferences for how it should be designed. Under this section, think through logic loops. One example from the healthcare exchange is when a user wishes to update their account with an email address. First, they must have access to an old email account to change it. This is an example of faulty logic loops which can cause frustration with users. Proper validation would have caught these errors before go live. Under this section, communication leads to fewer errors. First, you must communicate to all project teams the scope and objective of the project. Provide these established control mechanisms to stay a course, to list the requirements, identify what needs to be done, to provide schedule and budgeting constraints. And working with the budget using a variance analysis helps compare against project plans versus actual results. Under this section, having a detailed task list. Ensure you have a detailed task list. It is a basic for estimating, scheduling, and allocating resources. Also required is time required to accomplish each task, as well as the resource required by that task. Identifying these numbers helps estimate each stage and helps establish accurate estimates for the difficulty task. Under this section, Final Design Requirements, the final design would have included mandatory items, desired items, and optional items only if adequate time and budget would have been available. Under this section, controls should have been in place. These control processes should have addressed performance standards, assessments, and corrective action plans. Performance standards are set at the beginning of the project. These provide technical specification, budget cost, schedules, and resource requirements. Comparisons are made between actual performance and the plans during the operations are assessed. When several variances are experienced, the corrective action plan is put into action. Under the conclusions section, process failure is a failure to bring in a project system on time and within budget. The system may be technically working, but it is no longer economically feasible or within current business plan. To conclude, several problems occurred in the development and deployment of healthcare.gov. These problems include inadequate system capacity, numerous errors in software code, and limit system functionality. Although CMS was aware of these problems prior to the initial launch in October 2013, it proceeded with the deployment in order to meet its deadlines. Consequently, consumers attempting to enroll in health plans were met with confusing error messages, slow load times for forms and pages, and in some cases, website outages which led to complete process failure. Since the initial launch of healthcare.gov and its support systems, CMS has taken numbers of steps to address these problems, including increased system capacity, outlining new approaches for ensuring the quality of software code, and further development requirements functionality. As a result of these efforts, the performance of healthcare.gov and its support systems have improved significantly.
The new healthcare.gov